Hello folks! So, today's car vlog, in my last vlog that I did, that I uploaded last, I spoke about, I very, very briefly mentioned that my father passed away, and I thought that it would be quite a good idea to come on and talk about how it is life with an absent parent. Obviously, no one's family is perfect, no matter how it may look on social media and everything like that, but nothing is perfect. So to anyone who has a parent that is either absent in the sense where they don't speak to you, or if you're going through a parent that's currently dying or a parent that has passed and you don't know how to get over it, I'm hoping that this will be something you guys can relate to. So, from the top, I was 15 years old when my dad passed away, going through exams, GCSEs, and it was a very, very strange time in my life because you're going through so much school change, and at the same time you're dealing with a parent that has cancer. So, you know, it is expected. You know that he's going to die. But it's such a great area. I'll go way back when me and my dad had a bit of a fallout for a reason that I soon began to find out that it wasn't his fault. And I didn't speak to him for a few years, and it wasn't until I was maybe 14 that I went to his house and I was like, okay, let's call a truce now. Like, you know how family feuds go. So we made up, and he looked a bit unwell, but we didn't know what was wrong with him. And then we found out a few months after I got back in contact with him, found out that he was diagnosed with lung cancer. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's terminal. Unfortunately, it had spread to his adrenal function. From my memory, I think he had some sort of shoulder pain, but the doctors kept saying it's like a muscle. And then finally, when he went and had an MRI and he was in a lot of pain, they were like, "Oh, you have cancer," and it had also spread to his adrenal function. So it was terminal. Obviously, hearing those words that your dad has cancer, and that he's going to die within 6 months is something not easy to handle when you're actually, it doesn't matter what age you are, it's very, very difficult, and especially when you're going through hormonal changes and you just like, I just became a really angry person. Not many people knew, my school didn't know. I just kind of went in every day like nothing was going on. I was probably a bit more angry than usual, had a lot more attitude than usual. Anyway, so he got diagnosed, I want to say in July. He got given till Christmas. They were like, around Christmas time is the time that, you know, we think that you're going to pass. So inevitably around Christmas time, we're stressed, you know, like the whole family's getting together. I forgot to mention that my parents were split up, but the love was still there. I mean, when my dad was going through, you know, through his dying phase, I don't even know how appropriate word to call it, but you know, him and my mum, you can tell that there was just so much love left over. I mean, they have so much history together. They were married for like 18 years. They have 4 kids together. That love doesn't ever disappear, you know, regardless of whether or not you're broken up. So, you know, Christmas time was very, very difficult. And if I'm honest, Christmas hasn't ever been the same again, because my last memory with my dad was sitting around like, is he going to go now? Like, what's going to happen? Fortunately, he didn't pass away at Christmas, which was a nice Christmas present, if you'd like. Shit, the sun. So, yeah, so he didn't pass away at Christmas, and I made sure that I spent every single moment I could with my dad, and create memories. And, you know, at some point, I guess it felt forced, because you know that this time is going to end very soon, and you don't know when it's going to end. You don't know what to expect. You think that you're going to be okay, but you just have no idea until it happens. So anyway, there was one specific time when my dad had, it was in June. Yeah, early June. I was in school. My mum came in and was like, you need to come to the hospital because your dad's got 24 hours to live. And I'm like, what? Like, you're like, there's been no, at this point there was no warning sign that like he was doing better, let's say. He wasn't, you know, there was no time frame. It was like he was doing a lot better, and then all of a sudden you get told he's got 24 hours. I walk in to the hospital room and my dad is there fitting. Like, my dad is, I mean, your dad you always look up to, right? You always look up to your dad. Your dad is like the strongest person. I have never, ever, ever seen him so weak. I have never seen, and I will never be able to unsee what I saw. He was fitting, his eyes were rolling back to his head. He was like speaking, he was like mumbling words that we couldn't understand. And I was like, I'm literally just watching my dad die. I remember just sitting on the floor opposite his bed, like watching him and just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is something that, again, I will never be able to unsee. I still, now when I talk about it, I have that same feeling, like I'm speechless, because it's just something that, yeah, like I can't. Anyway, it wasn't to do with the cancer. It was actually to do something with his medication, and he had too much, and he was basically having an overdose. He actually soon came round, and he didn't pass at that time. He actually passed 2 weeks later, after Father's Day. Me and my brothers, we all went to go and see him on Father's Day, and there's a specific moment as well that everyone was saying goodbye, and the doctor came in and he was like, everything's looking really good and positive. It sounds like there's less mucus, so we can start radiotherapy or something like that again. And I remember being like, I'm going to be back like in 2 days time to see him. So I was just kind of like, when people are saying goodbye and they're like hugging and you just get pushed to the end, and you're like, I was just like, I just waved. I was like, I'll see you in a couple of days. You know what I mean? And I wish I hugged him, because that was the last time I saw him alive. He died later on that night in his sleep. I think it was in his sleep. I don't know. All I know is that ironically he has a cigarette in his hand. And my mum walked to my room at 1 a.m, switched on my light, and was like hysterically crying, saying, he's gone, like, your dad's gone. And I'm like, what? Like, the guy just said that he can start radiotherapy, everything's looking positive. So I go down to the hospital straight away, and there he is. Like, my dad's just lying there stiff. You think they're gonna wake up, you think, he's just sleeping, and that's when that phase of my, like, I don't know, it's such an eerie feeling. You're like, I was so in denial about it. Obviously that day I took off school. I took school off, and I went to go and see him at the morgue, and everyone was like, don't do it, like, you're so young. And I'm like, no, like, if I don't do this, like, I'm gonna regret it, and I'm glad I did it. But I mean, fuck, it's very difficult to see your dad lying there dead on a fucking bed, and you think that he's gonna wake up anytime soon, but he's just not, right? That's the reality of it. He's not gonna wake up. The next day I went to school, and I was just straight. Like, my mood was just, I didn't give off any signals of anything. It wasn't until at the end of the day when I kind of broke down, and the school like found out that my dad had died. And since then, after that, I never really what's the word called when you like cry and you have your time to cry? I can't remember the word off the top of my head, but when you mourn, is it mourn over someone? I didn't do it. I was just like in denial. People would be like, Nicole, where's your dad? I'm like, he's just on holiday, because I was so in denial. I didn't want to talk about it. My like closest people to me wouldn't even know that he was dead, because I just didn't want to speak about it. It was only until maybe 2 years later that I actually kind of broke down and was like, I cannot believe he's not here, like he is never coming back. And my advice to people who have an absent parent, or a parent that's died, is you have to have your time of grief. You know, you have to grieve over that person. And I'm the type of person where I will suppress something and I will then explode and just break down, and at that moment in time you become irrational, and you just don't really know what to do. But honestly, I feel that I am a totally different person. I feel that if my dad was still around, my life would be very different. Not necessarily in a good way. No offense to him, but I grew up. I was the laziest person. I was lazy. I had no interest in school, had no motivation to do anything. And when I finally had my time where I grieved over my father, I sorted out my life. I don't think I'd be here in Dubai right now doing what I want to do, doing what I love, working for myself. And I honestly still think that he is in a part of me, and helps me and guides me to wherever I am and whatever I'm doing in life and the decisions that I make. And he would be extremely proud. So as much as that time of my life was horrible, the outcome has been very positive. And to anyone who is going through the same thing, it's not easy for anyone. It doesn't matter if you've had a falling out with your dad or your mum and then they pass away. Like, in the end of the day, they're still your blood, they're still what made you. And no matter if they've been a role model or not in your life, everyone wants parents, right? Like, you always want someone that you can go to and speak to and have advice off of. Whether or not they've been there for your whole life or not, it's still how it's meant to be, So when they aren't actually there, it's weird, And even there's times now in my life, this fucking thing, no, it's not gonna work. So there's times now in my life when I wish I could just pick up the phone and speak to him. I wish that he could just see everything that I'm doing right now, but that's not the case. But I do know that he would have been very proud. So to anyone who is going through this kind of situation, the only advice is just let your emotions come out. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy, and time heals everything. As retarded as that may sound, but it's very, very true. Time will heal, and you will heal, and you will come out stronger on the other side. And hopefully, one thing you shouldn't do is act the victim. Don't let this eat you up and consume you. You have to move on with your life. Just because one life ended doesn't mean your life should end as well. And I'm sure your parents wouldn't want that to happen. I'm sure that they wouldn't want you to become an alcoholic or turn to drugs or something like that. They would want you to go and do something with your life. So that would be my advice. And anyone who wants to ever chat to me about it, you are more than welcome. I am very, very open now about speaking about it. Obviously this is a very accurate story of what happened, but even sometimes people just want someone to listen, because I know the emotions that some people are going to be going through in life, because I've been through those emotions, and sometimes all it takes is just someone to listen. So if anyone's out there that needs someone to listen, I'm your girl. Anyway, it's a bit of a depressing one, but I hope that you have enjoyed, and please pass it on to someone who might need this, because sometimes it helps.